Hey, this is Jack, and this video is called The Only 2 Reasons Men Friend Zone You. Hey, my name's Jack. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here or you haven't yet subscribed, I want to invite you to consider to subscribe. Also, I want to let you know there's a free resource, the first link beneath this video. It's my guide checklist. It's 9 steps you can run any guy through to get a sense of is he actually showing up to invest in you. And I also want to let you know if you want to do more work with me, I've opened enrollment to my live program, The Transformation. This is all about you being more of your real self, more authentic. So if you know there are outdated patterns and strategies that you're still running that you want to let go of to bring a more vibrant, powerful, loving, and essential you forward, I would love to consider to have you in the program. That will be the second link beneath this video. All right, let's get into it. What are the only 2 reasons that men will friend zone you? So I'm going to make this super simple for you. I'm going to share a 3-part structure, and then I'll get into the 2 reasons. So the 3-part structure is that there are effectively 3 types of predominant energy that can exist between you, if you're a woman that dates men, and a guy, right? The first one we can call friend or companion. Friend or companion is where it's platonic. You enjoy connecting, you join each other's company. You may even hang out a lot, but the essence of the relationship is platonic. The second category is lover. Lover is where there is romantic and sexual energy between you. If you have a lovership, you don't have the commitments that come in the third category, but the connection is likely to become romantic and or sexual, and it's different therefore than companionship. And the third category is partner. When you have a partnership type energy, there's a desire on both sides normally to have mutual and deepening commitments to one another, right? When you're lovers, there tends to be an element of casual, or we connect when we can connect, or we connect when we're in each other's cities, or it's kind of light. Partner, there's a deepened sense of mutual obligation to one another, right? That we can actually do something together. We can try and build something together. So these are 3 different tracks. Friend, companion, lover, and partner. So I'm saying that friend zone is synonymous with this first category of being a friend, and this gets us into our 2 reasons that men will friend zone you. If you think about it, it's because they're not going to put you in one of these other 2 categories. So either reason 1, there is not enough romantic or sexual energy running between you or that he is experiencing, and or there is not sufficient polarity between you, right? You might have heard mention of masculine and feminine energies. Let's just say for the sake of argument that you're a feminine essence woman and you tend to date masculine essence men. Is there enough of a polarity between that masculine and feminine for it to feel like something that's got a lover type energy to it? Because if there isn't, he's likely to want to friend zone you. And by the way, this isn't something usually that you can create or manifest on your own, right? So some of this is about surrender, is noticing what is actually true, even if that is disappointing to you. The second reason that a man might friend zone you is because he doesn't see you as partnership potential or material for whatever reason, right? And there could be 101 reasons for that. Your job isn't to convince him of that, right? Your job is to notice that that's what's happening, and then get with the program and decide authentically if friendship is actually something you're interested in, and you get to choose that, right? You may like having this guy in your life as a friend. You may decide that friendship doesn't work for you because actually you just want to focus on something that's got the potential to become a partnership, or it might be too painful. If you have more feelings for him than he has for you, that often equals pain, and it might just be better to downshift and move on in your life. So the 2 reasons that a guy might friend zone you are basically because he doesn't see you as a lover and he doesn't see you as a partner. And we can break those things down, but at the end of the day, for most guys, that's not a super complex intellectual heuristic, lens that they're looking at this through. It's actually a bit more of a off the bat sense, right? You might have heard it say that guys will friend zone you fairly quickly because most guys will have a sense fairly quickly in getting to know you whether there are these other types of attraction that are running for them. And if they're not, that's when they're likely to put you in the friend zone. Now, are there a few exceptions to this? Yes. Are there some guys that are super shy? Yes. Are there some guys that are super slow burn or who will never make a first move until they're completely sure that you're interested in them? Yes. But you can mostly get around that by just asking a guy directly. I've sometimes wondered if this could be more than friends. Do you want that? Right? So you're actually giving the green light to say, hey, I might be interested in you enough to have that conversation. And if he doesn't step up to the plate with that, rather than imagining that he could be thinking something, but actually it's not true, because I've helped and coached a lot of people in that situation where they've filled between the gaps, between the lines with the guy, and they've actually been wrong about it, right? And that equals pain. So We don't want you filling in the gaps. We don't want you connecting the dots and creating a story or what we call a castle in the sky, right? Some kind of fantasy pseudo relationship. We actually want you on the ground, boots on the ground, sober reality of what is actually here. And if the guy hasn't got it together enough to invite you into one of these other categories, which obviously, by the way, you get to say yes or no to, right? So I'm not saying all the decision making's on his side, but this video is about why might a guy friend zone you, and the presumption therefore is that perhaps you might want more than friends, right? If you just want friends, you're typically happy to be in the friend zone. So this is for that situation where maybe you've wanted more than friends and you're wondering, why is that not the case? It's normally because there's not sexual, romantic, and or polarity, or the guy doesn't think of you as partnership material. And I'll just give you a super quick anecdote. I remember being at a big festival. I remember meeting a group of people. I was talking to a woman and she said to me, men date me, but they never want to partner me. Men always want to date me, but they never want to partner me. Effectively meaning, guys see her in this second category, right? I've called it lover, but you could call it something else. But they don't want to move into that third category of partner. And normally, that has something to do with whether a guy can imagine a sense of stable connection and future with you, right? If he's interested in you enough that there is romantic and sexual energy there, if you guys have a connection, if you are friends, then what has a guy think of you as a partner? It's, in this instance at least, I think it was something to do with the fact that there wasn't a lot of grounded energy in this woman. And therefore, I don't think it would be easy for a guy to imagine building a grounded future with her, right? If you think of partnership as something to do with stability, harmony, building, sharing, finances, domestic life together, right? All those things have this sort of element of self-preservation, stability, and ground. And if that is not part of, and it's not just to do with you, it's also to do with how the connection, the dynamic is between you. If that's not present, I think it's unlikely that a guy is going to think of you in that third category as a partner. Now, that's just one example. There are many other things that could have a guy not think of you as a partner. Perhaps there's one type of connection that he doesn't experience with you. So perhaps you have a good emotional connection, but you don't really have an intellectual connection, or there's not some kind of spiritual connection. And again, these things will go both ways. So this is not just guys getting to have their list. Sometimes a woman really likes a guy, but there's not an intellectual connection, right? Or often I hear from women, he's a really nice guy, right? I like him. He's so cool. I love spending time with him, but I'm just not attracted to him, right? That means that in her direction to the guy, she's not experiencing that lover energy, that category 2 energy. And you can't manufacture it typically, right? And people will try and then they'll criticize themselves or wish it were different. Life isn't always straightforward. It's not always that it's going to work out the way that you thought it was. Life is often a process of you getting sober and connected to what is actually happening, as disappointing as that may be. But it's also part of your spiritual journey, right? To let go of expectations and to get with the program of what is actually happening. Another reason a guy may not see you as partnership material is because he's not ready for some kind of partnership, right? That's just not right for him in this stage of his life. But if we have a set of presuppositions, right? That this is a guy that's interested in women. This is a guy that is ready to partner. And in that situation, he's not looking at you as partnership material. Do your best to not take that personally, because he may not even have specific reasons he could give why that's the case, right? Do your best to trust that is what's happening, and it's not your job to be in the business of convincing him, right? Unless there's something about yourself that you really haven't brought forward into the space. If you've really shown who you are, you actually want the guy to not see you as partner material, because it's going to be really hard to create a connection when that's the case. You actually want the guy who's like, yeah, I'm interested in you. I could see more here. Let's explore that. So a lot of this is actually about having the patience and the trust that when that partnership energy is there, both people typically know it. Now, does that mean it's necessarily going to stabilize as a partnership? No, it doesn't. There might be all sorts of things that come up or blocks, or maybe it goes further or maybe it doesn't. But most of the time, there's going to be two people that are recognizing that that's present. And when it's not, which, let's just get brutal and statistical, the vast majority of the time, for guys that you connect with, there's not going to be a mutual recognition between you and him that we are in a partnership potential, or sometimes what I call the partnership track. Again, that might be really hard to be with, but it's much easier to get with that program than it is to keep fighting against reality. So there is a little bit of mystery in these things. If you've had the situation where a lot of different guys date you but never want to take it more serious, I would get curious about the piece I was saying about how grounded and stabilized you are in your own life. And that can be something that you practice, take aim at. That can be something you get coaching on to help you cultivate that energy, right? Because you may have heard this said, right? There are three, and it's a little facetious, but maybe there's something in it. I didn't come up with this. I'm sharing it in case it's helpful. There are three things that men might get from a woman, right? This is obviously simplistic. And typically he'll at best get two, right? So the three things: kind, stable, and hot. Now, if you take those and run them through the lens that I often use of the Enneagram, you could basically say kind means how much of a social instinct do you have? Hot means how much of a sexual instinct is there or sexual connection is there? And stable is how much of a self-preservation instinct is there? Now, you may not understand what those terms are. That's another video, but it's effectively saying there might be a possibility if guys always want to date you, right, that they are connected to you in a romantic and or sexual way, but they never want to partner with you, that there might be something about that more stable, grounded energy that they're not experiencing. Now, some guys, you know, if they had their two from the three, they would choose hot and kind, and they're not worried about stable, right? But I don't think that's probably the majority of guys. I think the majority of guys, when they think of partnership, probably think about, you know, building a home or building a family or building a future, and that there's some minimum effective dose of groundedness between you and stability in order for that to happen. So more I can say about that in a different video. For the purpose of this video, check out whether you've got sexual and romantic or polarity energy between you. Check out whether he might be thinking of you of partnership material. And I always invite people, this is kind of cold and sober in some ways, but if you had the experience that a guy hasn't seen you that way, you could ask the question, right? Particularly if you had it across multiple guys, it might be hard for you to hear, but you might actually learn something, because there is useful information. It's not to say that the guy's going to be right. It's not to say he's even conscious. There might be things that are beyond his consciousness. But if a number of different guys have sort of fed back something similar, maybe, just maybe, there's something in it, even if they haven't said it exactly right, or even if it's been hurtful to hear. You know, in our pursuit of reality, in our pursuit of love of the truth, it can be useful to get the collective feedback from people in dating situations. Even if you go on a date and you're into it and the guy's not, you could risk just sending him a text message saying, hey, I kind of liked you. Look, I'm a big girl. Just tell me, is there any feedback that you would give me? Now, you don't have to take anything on, right? You're the authority on your experience, and you can be the guardian of your own development, but there sometimes can be something useful in that. So I'm just throwing that out there. If you want more from me, check out the first resource here. It's completely free. It's a checklist you can run any guy through. That's the first link. Second link is if you want to join my group program or you're interested, it's free to apply. Let's explore. As always, I am Jack, and thank you for being here.